to really see some connections to the work that I do and my colleagues do at Case Western. And so I'm actually going to offer some thoughts around organizing from the inside out. And that means kind of thinking about setting ourselves up for how we can thrive versus just exist and survive and kind of cope and get through in terms of ourselves, our relationships, and our space. And so we'll try to connect a number of those dots as well. In my waking hours, spend a lot of time at Case Western Reserve University, as Emily mentioned. There's some amazing thought leaders there. What I have the privilege of being able to do is hang around these amazing leaders and researchers. And what unites us all is a common purpose to help individuals, teams, organizations, even society try to thrive and flourish. So it really is kind of just a joy and a privilege to be able to do that work. So I'm going to try to pull out some of the things that have had a big impact on me that I think might be really of interest to our community. So I'd like to kick us off with this. This is an extraordinary moment for humanity, particularly the times that we're living through. And while on any given day we might feel a little deflated, maybe really stressed, really strained, maybe very worried, one thing we know to be true, and that is as humans, our deepest aspiration is often to help others. And so I hope in thinking about that, that gives you some hope. So this quote kind of sums it up from Mr. Rogers. If you've seen that movie, it's incredible, but also many of us kind of remember growing up with him as our favorite TV show. And the quote is, "When I was a boy, I would see scary things in the news. My mother would say to me, 'Look for the helpers. You will always find people who are helping.'" So this is true for you. This is true for all of us in our roles as parents, as educators, managers, leaders, coaches, healthcare workers, whatever your line of work, ministers, administrators, we deep down inside are often trying to really help others. The way we go about that, though, is where things get a little jumbled up. And often we go into kind of those interactions seeking to help others in a way that's meaningful, but our style or approach is kind of produces some different outcomes. Let me give you a minute to just tap into this notion of people who help from your own experience. And I'd like for you to take a minute just to reflect on your own life and who's helped you. So think about a moment with somebody who's helped you become who you are today. Maybe somebody who saw something in you or that you didn't see, or somebody who presented an opportunity for you. But just take a minute to think about that person and reflect on the experience and the person and what made them so memorable and so meaningful. What was it that they said or did, and how did it make you feel? So for me, I'd like to kind of transport myself when I reflect to kind of looking out at the ocean. This is myself and my kids at our favorite happy place down in Florida. So for you, wherever that is, think about what it was that made this person and this experience of them in your life so significant, and how did it make you feel? When I have a chance to work with individuals in the classroom, we spend a lot of time unpacking that. So tonight, I'll just leave that for you to think about a little bit more. But if you're like most folks, you maybe thought of a teacher, maybe somebody at Magnificat that had a big impact on your life, or a college professor, maybe it was one of your favorite bosses or managers who really helped you. Maybe it was a mentor. Maybe it was an athletic coach. Maybe it was your mother or your father or both. Maybe it was a good friend. What we've learned when we analyze the answers to that question is that there are many ways we help others, but there are two ways that are distinctive. So when we poll people and we look at themes, what rises to the top is this first point. People who help us understand our values, our dreams for the future, our strengths, those are the people that really jump to the forefront of our minds. So they help us to reach for something new about ourselves or the future, as well as consider maybe in a more complete way what it means to be a good person and to be successful. The other thing that distinguishes these memories and these individuals is that overall we're filled with positive emotion. That doesn't mean every minute with that person or every interaction was positive. It means overall the net of that interaction is positive. And so that's important for us to kind of take forward, and we apply that to what we know about human nature also. Here's a couple fundamental truths about how all of us learn, grow, and change, right? One is that as adults, we only do it when we want to or when we need to. So mandated change doesn't stick, and in fact, it looks a lot like this. So if any of you have children or have been around kids, this picture you have got a lot of personal experience with, right? Same is true for adults. We kind of just cross our hands and go, why? We don't want to be told what to do. So we need to inspire it, meaning like you have to intrinsically motivate yourself and others. And the truth is, it's really hard to do that well if you yourself are not inspired. So it kind of sets a tall order. With the short time we have tonight, I wanted to leave you with 3 ideas that can help you thrive and encourage others to learn, grow, and change, as well as yourself. And one of them, to kick us off, is to lean into positive emotion. Here's the good news and the bad news. Emotions are contagious. So at the risk of talking about something that's on our minds a lot now around contagion, we know that emotions are contagious. That means positive emotions like joy, love, hope, optimism are contagious. When you are spreading joy, others can't help but feel it. And they themselves are apt to smile and to feel joy. However, when you're angry and you're frustrated, you're disgusted, that also gets communicated and is contagious. So in your roles, if you seek to really want to help, or you're trying to really inspire others, you have to pay attention to the emotions you're spreading, because it matters to everyone else. And if you're in a position of authority, it's especially true. So a lot of my work is with leaders and organizations, and whatever emotion they're spreading is what the team is subject to. And so that makes a big difference and plays out in terms of what then becomes possible. Let me unpack that a little bit more. The nature of human emotion is such that we are always moving back and forth between positive and negative emotion. Think of them as magnets. We call them positive and negative emotional attractors. So this is at a subconscious level. We're not aware of it. Just do a quick recap of your week, which probably seems like a long week already. But on Tuesday, we had a massive blizzard-like conditions for anyone who's around the Cleveland area, right? Kids, some kids were off school. I think Magnificat stayed with remote learning. So either way, you probably went through, if you had experienced it in this area from a place of maybe negative emotion, if you had to get to work or had to figure out what to do with the kids, or maybe it was positive emotion because you were relieved. But once you kind of got the day situated, maybe then you were able to concentrate on your own work, or you had a meeting or something and it was positive, or maybe you had some quality time, family time at home that was really relaxing. So you're filled with positive emotion. So we are moving back and forth all the time. The so what of all this is that we need both negative and positive emotion, but we need more positive emotion over negative to thrive. So the role of negative emotions is such that they sharpen our focus often. They prepare us for whatever it is that we need to do. We can marshal a lot of energy and internal resources to perform at a high level. Positive emotion, though, is what we need for the long game. So we've got, in order to sustain ourselves and to be truly well, to be able to thrive over time, to be at our best, most creative self, most compassionate self, we have to be able to dial into positive emotion. Some of the positive psychologists have been researching and writing about this for quite some time, and our work at CASE is closely aligned with theirs. Barbara Fredrickson is one of those researchers, and she talks about words that are reported most in her positive emotions lab. And these are a couple of them, as you see on the screen. So joy, love, interest, serenity, hope, inspiration. Amusement would be where humor and keeping it light would fall. And then there's gratitude. Gratitude is one of the most impactful emotions that we can unleash. And gratitude, there's tons of research that is emerging about how significant that is for us to both give appreciation and to receive it, and how that helps us to be healthy and whole. So as you think about this, the notion of positive and negative emotion, I'll leave you with this reflection question for this first point, and that is, think through this maybe the last week or two. Think about a couple key relationships, maybe a couple situations that are important to you. And what do you notice about the ratio of positive to negative emotion within you? Often we have a particular kind of variance to those things. So we show up a certain way with one person or in one situation or in another. But either way, it's really important and useful to think about it, but also to even track it. So if you're not sure, one really interesting and fun activity is to take the next couple of weeks, maybe leading up to Christmas, right? And jot notes every day around, give yourself a score, 1 to 10, 10 being high for positive and 1 being high for or low for negative, and just jot down what you're doing over those days, but don't analyze it. And when you're through that period of time, look back at when you gave yourself really high scores and when you gave yourself low scores, and see if you can tease out any patterns, because you need to first dial in, and we all do, around our own self-awareness on this dimension. That leads us to a second key to thriving, and that is to pay attention to your mindset. Often we operate with two kind of dominant mindsets, emphasizing compliance or emphasizing what we call compassion. And so let me explain that a little bit more here. So I like to do it with pictures. And so this picture here gives you an idea of what a compliance mindset or compliance orientation is. It's prescriptive, directive, authoritative. It's kind of on the receiving end, it's like someone squawking at us, right? But well, more than one doing the squawking, so to speak, we have to know that might be how it sounds. The aim is to help somebody, quote unquote, comply to some external standard. So that could be what they should know, how they should behave, who they should be. So it works particularly well in a lot of situations, right? When there's a context that's predictable, there's a certain way of doing things. So knowing what that is good. But also when a person doesn't have the knowledge, children, or if there's a new topic, a new employee at work, as well as when safety and security is at stake. The issue, though, is often we over-rely on this. And for the reasons I shared earlier, it doesn't usually go well because people don't want to be told what to do very often. A different orientation and mindset is one that's anchored in what we call compassion. A compassion orientation is where we're grounded in empathy. So you emphasize empathy most of all. That's the relationship over the task of what has to get done. The aim is to help somebody else then discover and connect with the bigger picture. So something much bigger than themselves, including their dreams, and to be able to kind of think about how to reach for those, but their thoughts, their feelings, and so on. The whole aim is to help somebody kind of manifest whatever it is that they want or need to do. And the focus then becomes long-term, what's called kind of sticky or enduring and lasting change. So when we work with managers and leaders and coaches and others, often people have good intentions, but again, kind of approach things often too much anchored in the compliance mindset and are wondering why then people are tuning them out. So there's another kind of a dimension of this that's very characteristic of us as humans, and that is what's going on in our brains. And there's an actual, what we call it, battle in the brain, because there's two dominant networks. There's lots of neural networks, but there's two dominant ones. And think about them as like highways, superhighways. One of them is activated when you do analytical tasks, when you're focused on a task, when you're analyzing something, when you're zeroing in on the science, the logic, the rationale, maybe making an argument or proposal, for instance. And that highway is called the analytic highway. Another highway is called the empathic highway. And that's one that's engaged when we are examining our values, when we're in relationship with others, when we're getting together with our best friends from high school, when we're learning like this. And the key is that these two networks suppress one another. So we cannot be in both networks at the same time. It's just like you can't drive on two highways at the same time. And so what that means for what we're talking about, and we'll lead right into what Cassie's topic is about, is if we are trying to learn or change or show up differently or be compassionate, it's almost impossible to do that if you are living in task mode. And if you give into your inner taskmaster too much, it really kind of hinders your ability then to kind of develop or to at least connect with others in that moment in a meaningful way. So what do you do about this? Well, the good news is there's some simple solutions, and one is to be empathetic, focus on empathy, and to do that by seeking to understand others and not seek to be understood. That's one with my kids that I try to remember, right? And listen more than you speak. You know, ask questions and be able to then listen more than you do the talking. So a question for you that I'll leave you with is this: do you operate with a compassion or a compliance mindset more often? Just something to think about. Our last point here of your key to thriving is something that zeroes in on a human condition that everybody has a lot of experience with, and that's stress. And change, adaptation, everything that we're living through now and especially now, but in general, is stressful. And most stress, though, is very normal, and it helps us to adapt. So all stress isn't bad, but there's certain stress when it's chronic that really becomes a struggle for us. Chronic stress can present its own issues. It can actually close us down cognitively, perceptually, and emotionally. So what's going on, and is very true for us as parents, and us as educators, us as managers, really all of the roles that you play, you sacrifice often the best of yourself to the work or to the stress. So the sacrifice syndrome is something that's a state of dissonance, inner dissonance or discord that plays out intrapersonally and interpersonally. And it comes from you sacrificing the best of yourself, not sleeping, running 150 miles an hour and so on. Often brought about from what's called VUCA conditions. A VUCA condition is something that is a term drawn from the Army War College that describes volatile, uncertain, complex, and ambiguous situations. So those of you who are in formal roles of authority or leadership, often there's a double dose of the VUCA condition that you're living in. Certainly any of our administrators there, right, our leaders at Magnificat and others who are teachers, healthcare workers this year, people making decisions, parents trying to teach kids at home while they themselves are trying to work. Lots of volatility and uncertainty. So sacrifice syndrome is alive and well. The key is renewal, and it's essential for well-being. So the third key here is intentional renewal is not just something to put off and it's nice to have, it's essential to be able to get anywhere close to thriving. Otherwise, we're just kind of limping along. And I'm sure all of us have had that experience. I usually have it every December, kind of ramping up for the holidays. And I always thought if I could only take the month of December off, I'd be a lot better. December and May is when you work, right? And you've got kids in school. Those are big months for sure. I could never figure out how to juggle it all. So that's just one small example. But what we often do is sacrifice our health for everybody else. And you really just are not able to do that anymore without some serious consequences, usually to your relationships and also sometimes to your emotional and mental well-being. So I'd ask you in the chat to even offer, what are your favorite stress busters? What are the ways that you renew yourself? So we know that there's lots of great ideas, but be honest, about the ones that really work well for you. So I'd love to just have a couple of those come through the chat real quick before we wrap up, and that'll give us a chance to kind of leave with some other ideas that we can all help one another with. So reading a good book is fantastic. So yes, being with your BFFs from high school, exactly. Morning meditation, excellent. Hi, Bridget, good to see you. Taking a lunchtime walk, so getting out and walking. Yeah, fantastic. So thank you. Keep those coming for sure. I wanted to build onto the great ideas and give you some more inspiration. Keep it light. The person who mentioned being with your best friends, and like I love getting together and having a good belly laugh. So laughter, keeping it light, enjoying yourself. Keep moving. Keep exercising, making sure that, especially now at home, it's trickier, but you've got to, keep moving. Sleep. How many of us really are struggling to get a basic amount of sleep every night? It's essential that we do. So you need to really pay attention to that. Getting outside, walking, being in nature as we go into winter. I've resolved myself to the fact I've got to get some better boots and just bundle up, right? Because we are inside for the next couple of months. Pray at prayer and meditation. Praying the rosary actually is one thing that a lot of us have in common, that we know that prayer, and it actually serves both purposes. It's a really beautiful prayer. But prayer and meditation are really helpful. Taking a nap. A lot of us don't have that chance or are programmed to take a nap during the day, but if you can take a break, it does wonders for your ability to renew yourself. Love your pets. Stroking pets, actually, not so much tarantulas or lizards, we haven't figured that out, but we do find dogs, cats, rabbits, horses, any pet that you can stroke can really put you in a parasympathetic nervous state. And to love your peeps. So invest in the relationships that you care deeply about in your family and with your friends. And then for Cassie, and to tee everybody up, get organized, right? At the extent to which we kind of feel like we're on top of our work and our space, it really helps us to then thrive. I'll leave you with this as a way to kind of pull a lot of this together and carry it with you. And it's an acronym that myself and my colleagues came up with called REACH. And REACH stands for be resonant, that's dialed in, tuned in harmony with yourself and with others. E is for empathy, so lead and operate with empathy. A is for be aware of your own mindset and your own emotions and what you're spreading. C is for compassion, connect with compassion. And H is to the power of two, spread hope and spread humor. So that's a way to kind of bundle it all up, and when we don't know what else to do, maybe reach inward, but also reach outward to others. We have a short article that even talks about that further that Emily will post on the website if you're interested. So that's it for me. Thank you so much. I hope this has given you a couple of ideas or some brain food anyway, to think about to help you be more organized and to thrive. So Emily?
Great, yes, Ellen, that was fabulous. Thank you so much. And really, and I know Cassie will probably just pick up when I say this, that really kind of getting in the right mindset. And I love, that balancing our strong emotions need to kind of outpower those negative ones. So that's just great stuff. And speaking of intentional renewal and how it's so essential, I'm going to drift right over to Cassie to talk us through how we can do that in more of our physical space, because that also gives us a good sense of renewal. I know I feel good after my closet, just saying. So thank you, Cassie. Thank you, Ellen. Oh, you're on mute.
Oh, unmute myself. That would help. And make sure I'm on the right. There we go. Hi, can everyone hear me? Thumbs up. Okay, so I'm Cassie Griffin. I'm gonna go ahead and put my my little PowerPoint on for all of us to see. If it'll click on. There we are. And go. Okay. So, hello everybody, I'm Cassie Griffin. I am a senior designer here at Closet Factory Cleveland. We're located in Parma. We've got the full showroom and the factory right here on site. I love storage. I love creating solutions for my clients. Ellen, you are amazing. You completely set me up. I probably hardly need to speak after you, but I think getting physical with it is a really important task after we emotionally prepare ourselves to start tackling some of these areas of our homes that we've been living in and day out for 8 months now. So my goal is to make everybody's lives easier. I'm here to help. So, you know, use me as a tool, whether it's text or call or email. Right here on the screen, you do have my cell number. That's my business number too. So don't be afraid in the future to just contact me with any questions. I've been with Closet Factory for 8 years. Prior to that, I was doing store planning for retail stores, and I do have my interior design degree. So I've been everywhere in the industry, but I keep kind of getting back to the organizational space planning part of it, which is a talent of mine, and I do really have passion for it. Here at Closet Factory, we, where is it? End of slideshow. I'm sorry, guys. Oh, that's why. There we go. So we do more than just closets. I know it's in the name, but if you look us up online and take a look at our website, you'll see we do pantries, laundry rooms, garages, home offices, which is huge right now. I've been on many home office tours and design consultations lately. But everything we do here is custom. So based on your needs and what you're going through in your life right now is how I'm able to lay out a space and design something truly beautiful that you're going to want to be in every single day. Again, everything is completely custom, from how I design through manufacturing here through installation as well. So it's a pretty fun experience, but I'm here to guide you with the process. So I'm always here from beginning through the end. We've been very, very busy lately because we all have been in our homes and everyone is looking at their 4 walls in every single area of their room. And it is, you know, it can get a little overwhelming and we don't know who to contact and we don't know where to start. So my next slide has a little quote and a little bit of a theory, because we always need a good game plan to get started. A good plan with smart decisions based on function will eliminate the chaos during execution and ultimately be absolutely beautiful. So I've chosen, of course, one of our beautiful closets, and Diana right there, who I don't know about all of you, but I'm addicted to The Crown lately. One of my favorite shows. Anyway, but it's time to see our homes in a new light. We've spent so much time, you know, in our walls with our families. Our lives have all just changed, you know, some drastic, some a little bit, but it's time to think of how we live right now in this moment, not how we lived last year, not how we might live 8 months from now. Thinking about how you organize for the moment, what your daily needs are, you know, how to keep things more efficient so that you do have more time for family, so that you do have more time, you know, to laugh and watch your favorite television show or possibly take a nap, which again would be fabulous. We all hope and dream, don't we? But I hope some of my tips going forward tonight will, number one, let you kind of start this process on your own at home. You know, if the budget's there, give me a shout and I'll come out for a consultation. We'll build you a brand new room, but it's not necessary. Little steps can help you kind of overcome these big challenges in your house. So number one, I would grab a cup of coffee or a glass of wine, whichever you prefer. Sit down with a piece of paper and write down the rooms that, you know, give you frustration, that you wish just had a little bit of easier way to navigate. The list might be long and it might be overwhelming, but it's okay because it's just paper. You can rip it up or you can cross off the list or you can start a new one, but don't be afraid on how large the list can possibly be. Again, our priorities are going to be different now than they were in the past. So when we start prioritizing, think of number one, you. I mean, if you are going to take on the commitment and the dedication of reorganizing, let's say your closet, you know, you've got to think of what's most important. What do you see first thing of the day that drives you nuts? What is going to make the rest of my day completely easy if it's just putting on your clothes in the morning? A lot of my examples will probably be on closets for this presentation, but these tips can be used anywhere in your home. So again, in questions later or in, the chat at the end of the presentation, feel free to ask those questions about the different rooms. But yes, so prioritize. Number one, it's you. And if you can do it, the rest of your family can do it. We always want to lead by example. So if you can conquer some of these little tasks, leading by example and sharing it with your family will always help out in the long run. Number two, and we've mentioned this already, but make sure we do prioritize based on your needs now. So how we live now, 8 months ago, maybe it was the basement that needed organized. Now it's probably the home office. We're all working from home more. Our students are remote learning, our children, and we're going to need to reutilize some of our spaces in different ways. So we're going to start with the closet tonight. But again, when you're making that list, think about, where you want to be tomorrow morning. Okay. All right. So here's a pretty simple, basic wall closet. It's nothing fancy. It's not a ginormous space. And I know it's not that realistic because not all of us have just 4 sweatshirts hung neatly, 2 in white, 1 in pink. But, when you look at this picture, you kind of want to say, oh, I wish my life was that simple. It is simple. There's, a space for everything. And although most of our wardrobes would make this, it would be a lot fuller, you can see things are just categorized. And it kind of puts my mind at ease when I look at this. It'd be nice to just have a few things. Here's what I'm wearing lately. I have 3 options. This is great. So everything is pretty much categorized. And I think for me anyway, it kind of eases my heart. It really does. It makes me feel a little bit better about life if I could have something like that. Maybe not the exact same thing, but something like that. So this is where we start turning things into something like that. The hard part. This is the physical part. Let's get physical now. Before we move on to this lovely list, I like starting with a blank canvas with everything. Empty that closet out. Just pull it all out. Make the bedroom into a war zone if you need to, because we cannot get to, clean and organized without starting with some chaos. And it's already chaotic, so why not make it a little worse? Take it all out. We're going to start, with a clean slate. Clean your closet, vacuum it, wipe down the walls, shake off some of the items that, probably have dust on them from 8 months ago when we were wearing all of these items. Number 2, we are going to start categorizing as far as areas. So shoes we have on the list, your folded goods, items that have to stay hung, all of your accessories like scarves, handbags, those types of things, items that don't stay folded, workout clothes, pajamas sometimes, socks, underwear, those types of things. Then we're going to make decisions. And this can be really difficult and emotional for people. But number 1, we want to remember what is important right this minute. What do I need every day? Number 2, what obviously can I get rid of? And then what can I store? So whether, we've gone through job changes, I know, a lot of us again are working from home. We used to need 10 suits. Now, I don't think we need 10 suits. Maybe you just need 1 or 2, maybe for a job interview, maybe for the just in case, some sort of small event that we're going to go to or appear in. So limiting what we're keeping, at least for every single day right now, is kind of an important deal. So you'll make a pile of stuff to get rid of. You'll make a pile of stuff to donate, because editing is key. And then, you'll have another little section of stuff that I don't need right now, but I really do need to keep for the future. One day we will get back to normal. One day we will be back in our offices and our schools and all these wonderful things. So we don't want to get rid of everything. But it's good to kind of, again, focus on the now. Okay, so here's the cool part. Once all of that is done and you have your categories, you already have the stuff off to the side that you're going to be putting away for when you need it later, you're already organized. That's it. You are 100% organized at this point. You have your categories all laid out. And it was not going to look like it. I mean, there's still going to be piles and stacks and things like that, but it's already there. You've done all the hard work, and now we can have fun, and that's designing your closet. I mean, you have your categories for your long items and your, your hanging stuff. You've got, this is the greatest part. So now we have, all right, so now you want to put all your categories back in, kind of like how you're going to get dressed in the morning, or how you were, shopping at your favorite store. Think of what you choose first, and that's where you start. So when you're getting dressed in the morning, what do I choose first? Typically it's undergarments, those go in a drawer. So you probably have a dresser, or if you have drawers in your closet, socks, underpants, workout stuff, things that don't stay folded could go in drawers and tucked away. Now for the hanging part. So we do want to categorize these as far as, short hanging, longer items like our tunics, our, longer sweaters, maybe pants if you hang them long. But within those categories, that's when you can get fun with it. Okay, here are some more of my dressy ones. Here are some more casual. And then to take a note from what was the home edit, colorize it. Put it in from light to dark in each one, so you automatically have a separation of style. And that's always really fun. It's easy to go to, it's easy to remember. You'll be able to allocate space based on what you see in your pile as well. So if you've got a huge stack of, of folded goods, most of your closet's going to have to be dedicated to that. Once you start putting all these things in by category, you might need to move them around. You're still going to be editing. It's going to become so much more easy to edit, because you'll be like, you know what, I don't like looking at that huge stack of folded things that might be toppling over. Why don't I get rid of a few? It becomes easier. It becomes natural. Whether you save it for later or, you keep it in your closet, it's going to end up being a beautiful place, and you're going to see it every day, and it's going to impact your life. Trust me. Everything that you need every day will go in first. You're going to see everything right in front of you. The things that you don't need every single day, but you still maybe want to keep in your closet, like those 2 suits or those couple dresses, or those kind of things, can go off to the side or into the back. Again, I love when I design for my clients and start laying out new closets for them. It's important for me to think about how they get dressed. It's important for me to think about, like, again, having that feeling of going shopping, for new things, because now they're all rejuvenated. Now they're in a new place, and everything will look brand new again. Plus, it'll be protected. Our wardrobe's a huge investment. If we think about the money we spent on scarves, on handbags, on outerwear, and all of these things, if it's organized and upfront and protected, that's a lot of money. You might as well be able to show it off to yourself and, create new things every single day. And so these couple slides just have a couple closet pictures. And then, of course, offices. Office is a huge deal right now, and I've done many of them recently. But having a place for everything, you can still, edit all of your office stuff and follow these little tips and tricks, and then hopefully one day we will get back to normal and we'll be able to re-edit again. But it is a constant, it's a rolling ball. You're going to be doing this, every so often, just to refresh yourself. But once you get it done for you and prioritize what's best for right now, and the family will follow, trust me, because if they see you happy, they're going to want to be happy. And I know if I'm happy, they want to know why, and they want to know what I'm doing. So, so that is my presentation. I have, again, there's my little screen. If you want to take a screenshot of my name, my number, again, you can call me with any questions or put it in the chat. I'll figure out how to get that back up again. But I do in-home consultations for Closet Factory for brand new closets. Or again, I'm happy to, with a text message or a call with any question on dilemmas you may have. So that's it.
Great. Thank you, Cassie. Wonderful. If you, to our participants right now, well, first I'm going to let, I think Maggie jumped on. Maggie, are you there?
Hi.
I thought she did. Hold on. Thanks for coming.
I was going to look for the chat. There we are.
There we go.
Sorry, I was muted.
If there's any questions, there she is. Hi, Maggie.
Hello. Hi. I'm sorry. I can't wait to watch this presentation after we record it. Does anybody have questions for our guest speakers, for Ellen or for Cassie? No? Quiet group. You can put them into the chat.
Yeah, I'm looking for my chat.
Here we go. Cassie, Maria Kondo, are you a fan or do you find her too severe? That comes from Bridget Millen.
Hi. Okay, so I've watched all of her shows and I just think she's quiet. I mean, I've done some of her practices. I do like the way she folds t-shirts, and it does create more space, but it is a lot of dedication to keep it up. And teaching the family was really, really, really hard. So I kind of do that for myself. I haven't quite ventured to teaching my kids about it yet. I don't know if they'll follow the rules. But I love how it ends up. I mean, it's really beautiful, but keeping up is definitely difficult. I will say that.
Thank you. Any other questions? No? Well, I want to thank our speakers. We're so fortunate to have so many opportunities and so many great presenters like Ellen and Cassie. So we're very grateful to be able to make this happen. So thank you. And thanks to everybody who participated and jumped in.
Terrific. Thanks for the opportunity. And Cassie, I was furiously taking notes. So thanks for
Oh gosh, Ellen, I've got you in my brain all night long. I know it.
Fantastic. I looked up the definition of organize, and it's to form into coherent unity or functioning whole. I think you just summed it up so well. And the phrase space is the grace just keeps coming to me, like the grace that being organized and whole, right? A functioning whole. So hopefully, folks have gotten some tips tonight on how to do that. I know I have. So thank you.
Well, it just makes you happy. It really does. I mean, talk about needing, especially, and I loved, Ellen, when you talked about having more of those positive emotions and the negative is just inevitable. And I think when our spaces are so neat and tidy and accessible, it's one less thing that we have to stress about, and that bumps us into adding a positive emotion. And there's nothing better than coming home and feeling good and feeling positive. And okay, I may have had a rough day, but if your space is there, you can begin that personal renewal that you mentioned, Ellen. And it's just, I mean, really, it's funny. People laugh. I actually clean and get things very, very tidy when I'm really stressed, because it actually physically makes me feel better.
Sure. Absolutely. That makes complete sense. I do see a question from Kathleen, so that I'm happy to address that if we've got time. A minute or two for that. Okay. So Kathleen is asking, do you want to take yourself off mute, Kathleen? You're asking a question about kids and how to be not so in compliance.
Yeah, thank you very much. I do have a full-time job, and you have to do that, and I am analytical, so I see those different worlds, but it's hard. I think the biggest stressor is when that empathetic and compliance orientation, when it's time bound. That is always the trickiest thing. Like, you've got to get here at this time, or and some kids just maybe don't I guess like look at time, or they're not very good at managing time. And so I don't know if there's any tricks or something to not be as compliant and that authoritative when it's time bound. I think that's one of the biggest stressors that we have.
Yes, and I can completely relate, because I tend to operate at a different pace than both of my kids, and I think they sense it, and they purposely also do things a little differently. So we have to lean into a whole lot of patience, which goes better on some days than others, right? So I think the thing to keep in mind on this whole compliance and compassion spectrum is that we're talking about like the net of it all. We're not talking about like every minute, every conversation, every situation. So I like to think about it kind of across a week. And I remember when the kids were babies, and especially with my first one, that you're so worried about making sure they were eating what they were supposed to eat, right? And I remember one of my friends had heard from her doctor something like, don't worry about it on a daily basis. Look at it over like 3 or 4 days, and they're going to get enough food. And if you're noticing a pattern, that is extending beyond those 3 or 4 days, then you might have a problem, right? So there's a ratio to keep in mind that comes out of the research. And the ratio is 3 positives to negative. The closer in the relationship, which could be like parent to child, spouse, significant other, close business partners, all of those are close, intimate relationships. But parent to child, the research suggests the ratio is higher, of 5 to 1. So that means if we have an interaction where we're kind of a little, like in my case, a little snippy, a little short, maybe pretty impatient, and we end up kind of just saying like, just do it, right? Or get it done, or come on, let's go, or whatever version of that you might suggest. I'm not saying you would say that though, Kathleen, but I'm relating to your situation. You need to then figure out in the course of like roughly, the next several days, how will you unleash positive energy and positive emotion? Maybe that's, again, going back to that one slide I had, taking a real interest, sitting down and giving your child your full attention. Maybe it's letting them choose. A lot of times it's choice, right? So depending on how old they are, letting them choose something or giving so that they're more in control of something else. So be playful with that. Sometimes it's just, sitting down and giving them your attention in a board game or reading a book together. So going outside, so being together and doing something and giving somebody else, in this case, your child, your full attention, is a different way to unleash positive energy. And the idea is to kind of look at it on balance. So I don't know if that is useful, but that question comes up quite a bit. So I wanted to share those ratios.
No, that's helpful. I think as the kids get older, you spend less time with them.
Right.
So it's really tricky to get the number of, to tweak that ratio a little bit. So I think that's just harder as kids get older, and then you're like, oh, darn it. You just feel like some days it's more on the negative, but.
Absolutely. And so we end up having to work harder to connect.
Right.
The connection, because, there's a natural, growing independence. That's kind of what's happening. But also that phenomena I talked about at the beginning, where kids don't want to be told what to do. That's fundamentally one of the things that's operating as kids move into the tween years and then the teenage years. It's a natural part of development. So instead of us as parents looking at every aspect as a battle, framing it differently, they're actually seeking more independence, but finding some ways to find some common ground, taking an interest in something, maybe watching one of their shows, listening to their music, asking what they really like to do. It takes a while, but the more that you can do that, it matters. It communicates to them, even if they say, oh, mom, or whatever. Just trust that you really are demonstrating. So any other, yeah, absolutely. Comments or questions? All right. So the one thing about some of the stuff we've talked about, I think for Cassie and for my material, is to be gentle with yourself, going back to that well-being and intentional resilience and intentional renewal. We're all works in progress, right? So maybe if there's a couple of these ideas you can begin to experiment with. I think of a lot of things like a big pilot program. So you're run a pilot, do it for the next 90 days, see how it goes, and just have fun with it.
Lastly, I'm going to jump in before everybody hops off. if it's okay. I wanted to do this earlier, but I'm going to randomly select, we'll randomly select 2 or 3 people from tonight's participants to receive a copy of a book that Ellen co-authored called Helping People Change. So I'm really excited to read that myself and to give that out. And so I will be in touch with you tomorrow if you are a winner. So again, thank you to everybody.
Awesome. Thank you again. I know, Cassie, I think something might have happened with her, so I'll have to thank her separately, but thank you, Ellen. I put everyone's contact information up there, and just wanted to let you know that this was 3 out of our 4 executive functioning sessions. We have session 4 coming up next Thursday at the same time, and that will be hosted by, presenting, I should say, by Megan Rakowski, our very own school psychologist, and I will be presenting with her for time management. And we chose time management to be the last session because pretty much all of the sessions that we've had, including this one, do lead to time management. So if we don't have a good foundation in terms of being well organized and have good flexible thinking, and getting into the right mindset, as Melanie talked to us about in session 1, it's really hard to manage our time. So we have some great activities and a great presentation coming up with that. Megan and I were just chatting about it, so we're super excited to present that to you. And a separate non-executive functioning event, but also a Magnificat program that we have coming up is our Magnificat book club, and this will be facilitated by Books at Work. We are thrilled to have them back. They actually came back, were with us last year, and we did a short story discussion. This is actually a novel, A Gentleman in Moscow. If you have not read it, it is truly an unbelievable piece of literature. We're going to have 3 discussion sessions on this book. And I have the dates posted up here. We're asking if you're interested to register early. Our slots, there's about 20 slots that are open for a session, and the fee does include a copy of the book. It can be physical copy of the book we will send you, or you will receive an electronic version if you have Kindle. So we have that coming up. So feel free to, I know that Keith posted our Magnificat link for all of our executive functioning sessions. They've all been recorded. So you can go to that link that's there and access the first 2, and we will get this one posted for you as well. Also in that link, you'll find the access to the Magnificat book club. So if there's no other questions for this evening, I bid you all adieu. I wish you well. Good health, good mind, right? Positive thinking. We're all going to get through this, and the holidays are coming, so how can you not be happy with that? And thank you again, Ellen. So appreciate you coming and speaking with us tonight. So everybody have a wonderful evening.
Thank you. It was a lot of fun.
Good.
Carol.
Thanks, everyone.
Oh, there you are.
I was here the last, I had to jump on a different thing, but I was listening to the last part.
No, that's okay. That's all right. Thank you, Cassie, so much for being a part of this evening. It definitely gave us a different, we were able to see kind of both sides of organization and to show how it really is all hand in hand. So it was just so beautifully done. Thank you both very, very much. Like I said, I wish you both well. And really, from the bottom of our heart, I know Maggie and I are just thrilled to have you both. So
it was really great. A lot of fun. Thank you so much. I appreciate the opportunity too, really.
Yeah.
Thank you so very much. I would have been here for the entire thing, and I really can't wait to watch it. I had another Zoom event that ran long, and the coworker who could have run it for me was out, not feeling well. So I just got held up, but thank you. Thank you.
We were talking the other day, right, Meg? It's a great thing. Lots of exciting events happening at Magnificat. So you gotta conquer.
So many good things. So thank you so much.
Absolutely. You guys have wonderful